Hello everyone, I'm Eric and this is my guide to the music genre of heavy metal, and as you can see, I am a metalhead. The point of this series is to really get you to understand metal in a wider lens, and see it more as real music. Many people see more extreme forms of metal as just noise. I want to get you past that stereotypical point of view and get you to listen to something like this. And get you to understand that as music instead of, as I said before, just harsh noise. Of course, I'll probably be making videos on all the different subgenres of metal, but I primarily want to get you, my audience, to the point of really extreme death metal and black metal, to put it simply. Now, when you get to those points of death metal and black metal, it's okay if you don't like it. All I ask is that you be open to new things and you try everything. I just want you to get to that point of understanding why its appeal is so, well, not massive, but the appeal exists and there are people who enjoy the music and enjoy it as music instead of the stereotypical point of view of it being just noise. I want to get you to the point where you can understand it and appreciate it in a sense, rather than, being a huge fan of it. And if I can get you to be a huge fan of it, I'll be super happy with that, but I really just want you to understand. A few disclaimers I'm going to point out so I don't ever have to say them again. Metal gets pretty dark now and then, and you have to be ready for it. Metal deals with more intense subject matters than your regular rock and roll, pop music, or rap, or anything you listen to like that. It deals with brutal murder, dismemberment of limbs, satanic imagery, and, well, a lot more, let me tell you. So, if you aren't really kind of a fan of any of those things, if you aren't ready for any of them, I wouldn't recommend searching for any of these bands or songs that are, past thrash metal, I'd say. I mean, some thrash gets pretty dark, but usually you should be safe for the traditional metal and the hard rock that I'm going to cover in the next video. So, you should be safe for those ones, but once you get to thrash metal, that's when things get a lot darker and a lot heavier and a lot deeper with the subject matters. So, that's just a warning. I don't want anyone to, feel uncomfortable because of something that I recommended them. I want them to enjoy what they hear, You should also be safe for, power metal, because power metal is pretty light. Same thing with glamour hair, which I'm not going to cover glamour hair metal because it's kind of like the exact opposite of what metal should be, which I might talk about in a future video. I've been thinking about it a lot. So, you should be safe for classic rock, hard rock, traditional, and power metal. Maybe some of thrash. Another disclaimer is that I go through everyday issues and my schedule is quite sporadic, so I'm going to try and consistently make these videos and make them the best I can. And since if it's been a month since my last upload, it always helps if you contact me directly through Discord and tell me to, get on it, get to work. And if you have any suggestions or any feedback, that would be just awesome, because as much as I want to make these videos because I love making videos and that's just what I love doing, I also make these videos for a much more important purpose, which is for an audience to watch them. I, of course, always want to think, oh, well, I made a video, I'm happy with it, and, if you don't like it, well, fuck you. I made it, I was really happy with it, that's my own thing. But at the same time, I want to entertain you and maybe even educate you. So, if you have any suggestions, feedback, or anything, or any topics that you want me to cover, that you think I could cover more in depth than you or anyone else can, I would love to hear them. As I said, people watching my videos are pretty important, but it's not that important. It kind of kills me to, at the end of the videos, go, hey, thanks for watching, please subscribe! I can't do that. I really can't. It feels shitty to do that. I'll put a little subscribe button at the end of it, or that's it, at most. It's even then, that's I feel like a shill, so it's I don't like doing that, it's not really my style. So if you ever are watching my videos, just know that I appreciate you watching them, because I put a lot of work into these, and I really would appreciate, you know, I love to get people watching them and leaving comments and liking and maybe even disliking. I don't really care what you do. I just like people interacting with my media, and I appreciate with that. So, as a precursor to all my videos that you're ever going to see, thank you for watching and interacting with anything you do. On with resources for metal, and this also, a lot of these cover on just topics of music in general. So if you're looking to get more into music, this is a great place to start because you can have all these resources and they're all pretty solid recommendations for what you can do to listen to your music, find out more about music, read the lyrics, and read more about the band and things like that, or whatever artist you're listening to. This will all help for that. So some of these are metal exclusives, but most of this covers music in general. So the first resource that I'm going to cover that I think is the most necessary is metalarchives.com. Of course, this is a metal exclusive thing, and if you ever can't find a band on Metal Archives or an artist on Metal Archives, it's probably because they're not metal. And also, you can use RYM, or Rate Your Music, whatever you call it. So yeah, you can use that instead. And I'd say that's a pretty resourceful source. Resourceful source. Now, if you notice, source is in the word. Metal Archives will give you lyrics, biographies, current lineups, reviews, every production they've ever had, the artists of what people did for, like, the album art for your albums, and, you know, everything that they've ever made, from LPs to demos to just full albums. It's basically got everything you could ever need. However, as I just mentioned, it's centric on metal, and it has operationally defined for the website what metal is and what makes metal, you know? So if you're really looking for a good definition on what heavy metal is, I'd recommend reading on there. If I wrote them down here and told you about them, I'd probably butcher everything, and I don't want to do that because I think what they wrote is very in-depth and very good. So go check out their rules and guidelines sections, and they'll tell you all about what makes metal metal. Another one is how you should actually listen to the music, which I always recommend that you just buy the album, either on vinyl or compact disc. It's the definitive experience, in my opinion. So whatever you do when you want to buy your music, physically, it's going to probably be pretty expensive, so I'm going to give you the free alternatives. So use Metal Archives to read the lyrics there. That's completely free. And then just go to YouTube for the album. Just go on YouTube. You go, hey, I really want to listen to Amon Amarth and their album, The Fate of Norns. Let's listen to that album. You just go on YouTube and you go, Amon Amarth, Fate of the Norns full album. And either you're going to get a full album that's a video, it's like 35 to, an hour and 30 minutes long, You're either going to get that, or you're going to get a playlist. Either one works. You can still listen to the music, and it's probably going to be in pretty damn good quality, as long as you have some decent headphones. So, YouTube, great way to listen to stuff. The other thing you can do while using Metal Archives is Spotify. I highly recommend this free service, and it's a really effective way of listening to an album track by track on your computer and keeping a better idea of what you're listening to currently. The big issue with the YouTube thing is most of them are full-length videos as albums, and that's nice. I prefer it that way over the playlist format because the load times are quicker because it's just a full video, so each song transitions into each other very naturally. But the issue with that is sometimes you lose track of what song you're on. So you're like, wait, am I on track 4 or track 7? What's going on? That's the big con of it. So I highly recommend Spotify because the computer app has really good transition. It's just bam, perfect. The big reason I recommend Spotify is because of its Discover Weekly feature. There's a little playlist they give you, and it's called Discover Weekly, and it recommends you new music based off of what you've been listening to. And Usually, for me, it's like really obscure stuff that you've probably never heard of, so it's a really effective way to find out about new bands that you've never even heard of before. I've discovered a lot of bands that I really love just from that. Ulver, Ahab, All Pigs Must Die. It's just a really nice feature to have because it streamlines you finding new music. It really does. And soon you're going to have so much music that you're like, I don't have enough time in the day to listen to all this. Like, what am I doing? So many people don't like ads on Spotify, which I find them very irritating as well, as they come across like every 2 or 3 tracks. So I'll give you a quick guide on how to get rid of them without paying for premium. Okay, so I'm going to show you 2 methods to not have ads on Spotify and use Spotify the same way you were using it. All you have to do is, first one is just go on the web player, which is this link right here, and then you just have ad block installed. I have 2 ad blocks installed just for a double check. Just have ad block, and then you just run it on your Google Chrome or whatever you have, and then you're done. So there's that, and that's super easy. Or you could go and download the Easy Blocker, developed by Eric Zhang, I think that's his name. I'll put that link in the description. All you have to do is download it, and this is the application. So all you have to do is run Spotify. Now once you have Spotify running, all you have to do is click on Easy Blocker, right click on it, run it as administrator. You don't have to run it as administrator, but you have to do it for a very certain feature that you can do if you're running it as administrator. So if you don't want to run it as administrator, the only thing you're going to be able to do is mute the ads. If you run it as administrator, you're allowed to use disable all ads, since it's experimental, you can only use it in an administrator thing. So this way you can, just disable all ads, and your music will just play the way it should without ads, and this will just mute the ads. So if you don't want to run it as administrator, or you can't, all you have to do is run it, and it'll mute the ads because the ads are really awful. However, if you're listening to music on mobile, don't use Spotify unless you want to have premium. If you have premium, use Spotify. It's great on mobile. Google Play on mobile is much, much better for, listening to on the go. And it's also really good at suggesting music for you. It has so many radio stations, you just look up an artist that you like, and then you just have that, and then forever you just get new bands to listen to. And they're like, hey, maybe you like this radio. Oh, hey, try I'm Feelin' Lucky radio, and you can listen to a bunch of stuff that's similar to what you've listened to before. It's like, it's pretty great. The downside of doing this 100% free is that you don't get everything you want. You'll get most of what you want or need from all these resources, but if you do it 100% free, the really, really underground stuff is not going to get much support. Like, you're not going to find a full album on Spotify or Google Play. You might find it on YouTube, but like, even if it's super underground, you probably won't, and it might get copyrighted. Like, one of my favorite black metal bands that's super obscure, and when they did have a full album that was really good on YouTube, it had like 500 views. And it's just like, it's gone now because of copyright, which that's really shitty. I wish I downloaded it by then, but I didn't. And that's annoying, but they were really good, and it's like, now I can't listen to that album unless I buy it, and it's like, fuck. So yeah, that's one of the issues, is like, if you go into the really underground stuff, you're not gonna really get what you want, but everything else you want, you're pretty much gonna get. Even really underground stuff usually ends up on one of these free resources, so it's like, now that you have all the resources on how you can listen to the music and read the lyrics, we need to help you find more music to listen to. Now, I already covered Discover Weekly for Spotify, and they have a bunch of other suggestion things like the daily mixes and things like that, but I have other things. This one's really easy because it's really simple, but at the same time it's kind of hard if you're antisocial, is just go to your local record store and talk to the people there. I'm sure one of the managers or the workers or the owner is probably into rock or punk or, metal or anything like that in some extent, because that's what they typically are. I very rarely have ever walked into a record store and it's just full of people who are like, What are you talking about, man? I only listen to smooth jazz. Like, it just doesn't really happen. A lot of people who are super into music to the point where they own a record store, they're probably, you know, people who are into rock music to some extent. So, ask them where their metal section is, and if it's not already very obvious and clear where it is, because sometimes it's in the back due to, you know, not child-friendly album covers. And then, you know, just talk to them for a while, and maybe they'll say, oh, hey, maybe you'd like this band, or they'll recommend stuff to you, and they'll want you to buy, but here's what you can do. Just take their recommendation, and just leave. And then use the free resources that I listed before, and then you can just listen to it for free. Because fuck supporting people near you. Only support big businesses like YouTube. Now this is a resource that's pretty good because if you're antisocial, it's going to be very helpful to you. I have a Discord server that you probably heard of, and that's probably why you're watching this video, but I have a Discord server of almost 400 people now. It had more before, which is a long story. It had like 700 members and it was the biggest server, the biggest server for metal. But, you know, that didn't go well, and now we have 400 members. It's called Metal Gods, and it has a lot of members, and it's pretty active. So, if you're looking for music, that's a great place to start. Before this server, I had to find everything myself, and I had like 2 friends who liked metal, not counting my fucking dad. So it's like, making this server has been a revelation in finding new music for me and other people. And I truly just want to share more music, and that's one of the reasons why I'm making this series, is so I can share my opinion in depth without having to just do it in text format on Metal Gods, because no one's gonna read that. The other thing that you can do that's really simple, and I've always done, is if someone ever recommends you a band, someone's like, hey dude, you should listen to some Judas Priest. What I would typically do is just look up Judas Priest on Metal Archives, and then look at their entire discography. I usually would look at their, not their complete discography, but their main discography, because that's a pretty big band. If it's a smaller band, do all discography, but I usually just do main. And then I just look at how their reviews are, and I usually start with the highest review and the highest review count. Kind of a combination of the two. So I usually look at which one's the highest reviewed and how many reviews that one has, and then I just go, you know what, let's try that one. And if I like that is the supposed best by the fans, so I go, okay, I'll listen to this one now, or this one. Exploring their discography in this way is a lot like starting to watch Star Trek The Next Generation. You want to start at their best, which is Season 3, and then if you like Season 3, you can go back to their older stuff that's not really good at all, but you can go and listen to it, because you like the rest of it. So you're like, okay, I got into the groove. Essentially, you want to get to their best first, so you can go, okay, I kind of like this band, I kind of dig their sound, you want to establish what their band is to you, essentially. The reason why the Metal Archives reviews are really good is because each review has to be looked over by a moderator and accepted, and it has this very specific set of rules, and each one has to be read over, and they have to be, you know, explainable. They have to be very literate, in a way. They have to be very, very well written in order for anyone to get their reviews posted there. So if you have like a review of an album, if you have the reviews listed there and like the average score is like 87 and there's like 20 reviews on it, that's a good fucking album. Like, chances are that's a great album. Now, one of the other resources that you can use is metal YouTubers. For example, I'm a good place to start because you're already on my videos. But I highly recommend Black Metal Werewolf. He's a great one. He's a really, really nice guy. Gave a shout out to my Discord server, so I guess I'll repay the favor and say check out his videos. He's really entertaining, and he's one of the reasons why I kind of came out of my shell and made these videos in the first place, so big thanks to him. Go check him out. Another YouTuber that's been on the site for years now is Infidel Amsterdam. I haven't seen him in a while, though. Like, he hasn't been uploading as prominently as he has been in the past. So that's kind of sad, but he's a good YouTuber. Coverkill Nation is a good one, but the main issue I have with him is that he just likes all things rock and metal, and it doesn't really feel like he has a defined critic taste. Like, when you're reading a review of something, or you're watching a reviewer or a critic or anything like that, you really want to get, like, a specific taste of, like, what they like. But for Coverkill Nation, it's just kind of like, he just likes everything? It's just an issue I take with him. I mean, I respect the guy, but I like him, but just take his stuff with a grain of salt, because he just kind of likes all of rock and metal that's decent, and it's like, that's kind of boring. I don't know, he's kind of the middle of the road guy. It's like, he doesn't really have any strong opinions. He's not very decisive to fans, you know? Again, the best resource I think you can use is my Discord server. There's lots of people to talk to and ask questions to, and many people may call you a poser or a newbie, but don't let them discourage you. That's just how the metal community is. The metal community is just kind of brutal, and if I said the metal community's brutal, they'd go, fuck yeah we are, which, I mean, like, it makes sense why we'd think they're brutal. But the way they act, they're very elitist. I'd say the metal community, the best comparison, and this is my second comparison to Star Trek. I can't stop thinking about Star Trek. God damn. But I think the metal community, the best way to describe them is like Klingons. Like, when you're talking to one, and you have, like, a differing opinion or something like that, they're like, fuck you, you are not true, Klingon! Like, they're like, we have this huge pride to ourselves of, like, what metal is, and, oh, that's not metal. Like, there's a shitload of people who just have a super huge pride on metal, and they're super into it, and I love those people, but I also love the newbies, because just because you're new doesn't mean you're not interested or you're not wanting to get into it, and we shouldn't really discourage other people from trying to get into metal just because they are not true Klingon. We should really encourage new people, and metal is quite the divisive genre. It's very out there. So, again, I recommend that you just try new things, and don't let anybody steer you wrong. If you like something, like it, and you have to remember that you have to keep with it, and good luck, my metalheads. I'll be with you along the way. Source, resourceful source. Now, if you notice, source is in the word resourceful. So it's like, okay. You know, I made that whole bit, and it's like, you want to hear it? Because I went up to my camera instead of going up to my mic and saying that. So, you know, that's kind of shitty. You are not true, Klingon!